The secret of the gold coin. In the dense forest of Java Island, there is a small village called Cinta Alam. This village is surrounded by high mountains and clear flowing rivers. The people live a simple life, relying on agriculture and forest products. However, this village holds many mysteries, especially regarding its rich history, filled with legends and myths. Rina is a 25-year-old young archaeologist. With her long hair always neatly tied and round glasses that add to her intelligent appearance, Rina is known for her enthusiasm and curiosity. Since childhood, she has been fascinated by stories of treasures and ancient artifacts. Rina dreams of discovering something that could change the world's perspective on Indonesia's history. Budi, Rina's best friend, is a 26-year-old historian. With a more relaxed appearance and a skeptical attitude, Budi often serves as the rational voice among Rina's ambitious ideas. He has deep knowledge of local history and often reminds Rina not to get lost in her imagination. Despite his skepticism, Budi is very supportive of Rina and is always ready to help her in her quest. One day, Rina was conducting research at the university library when she discovered an ancient map that caught her attention. The map showed an unknown location in the forest near Cinta Alam village. In the corner of the map, there was a faint inscription that read, "Legendary gold coin, power and wisdom." Rina felt compelled to investigate further. She immediately contacted Budi and invited him to embark on a journey to Cinta Alam village. "Budi, this could be the biggest discovery of our careers. We have to go there," she exclaimed excitedly. Budi, although skeptical, could not resist Rina's enthusiasm. "All right, Rina, but we need to be prepared for anything. We don't know what we will encounter there," he replied, trying to balance Rina's excitement with reality. Rina and Budi began preparing for their journey. They gathered the necessary equipment, such as maps, compasses, and digging tools. Rina also brought a notebook to record every discovery they made. In her heart, Rina felt that this journey was not just about finding the gold coin, but also about discovering her identity and the meaning of hidden history. Before departing, Rina visited an old grandmother in the village known as the Keeper of Ancient Stories. The grandmother recounted the legend of the gold coin, which was said to have the power to grant wisdom to its owner. However, she also warned that the coin was guarded by spirits who would not allow just anyone to take it. "If you want to find that coin, you must be ready to face trials," the grandmother said in a hoarse voice. Rina felt excited, but also a bit anxious. She knew that this journey would not be easy. With burning enthusiasm and deep curiosity, Rina and Budi set off on their journey to Cinta Alam village. They were not only searching for the gold coin, but also seeking answers to the questions that had long troubled Rina's mind about Indonesia's history and cultural heritage. As they stepped into the forest, the sounds of nature surrounded them, and a sense of adventure began to fill the air. Rina felt that this was the beginning of something great, even though she did not know what challenges lay ahead. Rina and Budi began their journey to Cinta Alam village with enthusiasm. They passed a narrow path surrounded by dense trees. The sound of birds chirping and the wind rustling through the leaves added to their adventurous atmosphere. Rina was eager to arrive and start exploring the location indicated by the map. After hours of walking, they finally arrived at Cinta Alam village. The village appeared peaceful, with simple wooden houses and thatched roofs. The villagers welcomed them warmly, although there was curiosity in their eyes. Rina and Budi introduced themselves and explained the purpose of their visit. They met a young man named Andy, who offered to show them interesting places in the village. Andy shared the history of the village and the legend of the gold coin that had been passed down through generations. The coin is said to have extraordinary powers, but many believe that only those who are truly worthy can find it, Andy explained. Rina was very interested in Andy's story and asked more about the coin. However, Budi felt skeptical and reminded Rina not to be too influenced by myths. We need to focus on our research, Rina. We can't let ourselves be distracted by these stories, he said. After that, Rina and Budi continued to explore the village, where they met a local resident named Pak Joko, an old man known as the guardian of the village's history. Pak Joko told tales of the lost gold coin and how it was said to have the power to grant wisdom to its owner. But be careful, Pak Joko said seriously. The coin is guarded by spirits who will not allow just anyone to take it. Many have tried, but not all have succeeded. After listening to Pak Joko's story, Rina and Budi continued their search. Near an ancient site, they discovered their first artifact, a small statue made of stone, which seemed to have ancient symbols. Rina felt that this discovery was an important clue that could lead them to the gold coin. This might be part of the puzzle we need to solve, Rina said excitedly. Budi nodded, but he also felt worried. We need to be careful, we don't know what might happen next. As they examined the artifact, Rina sensed something strange. The atmosphere around them suddenly changed, and they heard a rumbling sound from the direction of the forest. Rina and Budi looked at each other, feeling the rising tension. It seems we are not alone here, Budi whispered, glancing toward the forest. Rina nodded, realizing that their search might lead them into greater danger. With the discovery of the first artifact and the warning from Pak Joko, Rina and Budi realized that their journey was not just about finding the gold coin, but also about facing challenges that might threaten their safety. They prepared to continue their search even though uncertainty and danger loomed ahead. After several days of exploring the village and finding various interesting artifacts, Rina and Budi began to feel that they were not alone in this search. One night, while discussing their discoveries outside their home, they saw a suspicious shadow among the trees. Rina felt that something was wrong. "Budi, I feel like we are being watched," she said anxiously. Budi nodded, sensing the tension around them. They decided to stay alert and continue their search the next day. The next day, they met Pak Joko. Pak Joko warned them about a group of criminals who were also searching for the gold coin. "They won't hesitate to do anything to get that treasure," he said seriously. Hearing that warning, Rina and Budi felt anxious, but their spirit to find the gold coin remained strong. "We need to be more careful," Budi said. "We can't let them stop us." Realizing the lurking danger, Rina and Budi began planning steps to protect themselves. They decided to explore more remote areas and avoid crowded places. Rina also started documenting all the information they gathered about the coin and the accompanying legends. With Pak Joko's warning echoing in their minds, Rina and Budi continued their search cautiously. They realized that this journey was not just about finding the gold coin, but also about facing threats that might come from third parties. Tension began to rise, and they prepared to face the challenges ahead. After experiencing several strange incidents and sensing the presence of unknown people, Rina and Budi began to feel threatened. They realized that the search for the gold coin not only involved discovering valuable artifacts, but also posed potential dangers to themselves. One afternoon, while discussing by the riverbank, Rina expressed her concerns. "Budi, I feel we need to be careful. Something is not right. I don't want us to get caught up in bigger problems," she said seriously. Budi nodded in agreement, but he also felt the urge to continue the search. "I understand, Rina, but we are so close. If we back down now, we might lose the chance to find the coin. We need to think carefully about our next steps." After a lengthy discussion, Rina and Budi finally decided to continue their search, but with more caution. They agreed not to disclose their intentions to the villagers and to remain vigilant against potential threats from third parties. That night, as they prepared to sleep, Rina felt restless. She knew that this decision could lead them into danger, but her curiosity about the gold coin and its rumored powers made it impossible for her to back down. "Whatever happens, we must be ready to face the consequences," she thought. With firm determination, Rina and Budi prepared to continue their search the next day. They knew that this journey would be full of challenges, but the spirit of finding the legendary gold coin kept them from stopping. When morning arrived, Rina and Budi woke up with renewed enthusiasm. They planned the steps they would take to explore deeper into the forest. Rina pulled out the ancient map and showed Budi the location they were heading to. "We need to head towards the river flowing east of the village. According to the map, the gold coin might be hidden nearby," Rina explained excitedly. Budi nodded, although he still felt a bit of doubt. "All right, but we need to stay alert. We don't know who might be following us," he said, trying to calm himself and Rina. They both packed their gear and set off towards the forest. As they entered the forest, the atmosphere became increasingly quiet. The sounds of birds and wild animals filled the air, but Rina felt a tension enveloping them. Every step they took seemed to bring them closer to something unknown. Rina tried to distract herself from her fear by imagining the shimmering gold coin in front of her. After several hours of walking, they arrived at the edge of a clear river. The water flowed swiftly, and across the river they saw a small cave hidden behind the bushes. "There it is! There might be something inside that cave," Rina exclaimed excitedly. Budi looked at the cave skeptically. "We need to be careful. We don't know what is inside," he said, but Rina was already impatient. With strong determination, she stepped forward, and Budi followed behind her. As they approached the cave, Rina felt a strange vibration in the air. She knew that they might be facing something bigger than just the search for the gold coin. However, her curiosity overcame her fear. With steady steps, they entered the cave, ready to face whatever awaited them inside. Upon entering the cave, they felt a cold and damp atmosphere. The walls of the cave were filled with hanging stalactites, and the sound of dripping water was clear in the silence. Rina turned on the flashlight she had brought, illuminating the path ahead. The light from the flashlight highlighted the glistening walls of the cave, as if holding secrets that had long been hidden. After a few steps, they found a stone altar surrounded by ancient symbols. Rina approached, feeling the tension in the air. "Budi, look at this," she exclaimed, pointing to the symbols. "This might be a clue about the gold coin." Budi observed carefully. "We need to be careful. This could be a trap." However, Rina's curiosity could not be contained. She began examining the symbols, trying to understand their meaning. Suddenly, a rumbling sound echoed from within the cave, startling them. The cave walls shook, and some small stones fell from above. "We need to get out of here," Budi shouted, grabbing Rina's hand. However, Rina remained frozen, her eyes fixed on the glowing symbol on the altar. "This might be the key to finding the gold coin," Rina insisted, trying to remember every detail. In that tension, they both felt that time was not on their side. Quickly, Rina made a decision. "Budi, we need to take pictures of these symbols and leave before it's too late." Budi nodded, and they began taking pictures with their phones. However, the rumbling grew louder, and Rina felt the vibrations intensifying. "Quickly!" Budi urged, and they both ran toward the cave's exit, trying to avoid the falling stones. In her heart, Rina prayed that they could get out safely. She knew that their search was not over. These symbols might be the key to uncovering the mystery that had long puzzled them. However, as they ran, Rina could not shake the fear that enveloped her mind. What would happen if they got trapped here? Would they find a way out before it was too late? They continued to run, passing through narrow corridors filled with dark shadows. Rina tried to stay focused, even as fear began to creep in. She glanced back, seeing large stones falling rapidly, which made her even more eager to reach the exit. "We're almost there," Budi shouted, his voice full of hope despite the evident tension. Finally, they saw light at the end of the corridor, giving them a new boost to run faster. Rina felt the fresh air blowing from outside, and it made her even more excited. "We can do this, Budi! We can definitely get out!" she shouted, her voice full of enthusiasm. With one last leap, they crossed the threshold of the cave and fell onto the hard ground outside. After a few seconds, they both gasped for breath, lying on the ground while staring at the bright sky. Rina felt relieved and grateful to have made it out safely. However, in her heart, she knew that their adventure had just begun. With the symbols they had captured, they had clues to continue their search. Rina looked at Budi with excitement. "We need to find out what all this means," she said, determined to continue their journey. Budi nodded in agreement, feeling the same enthusiasm flowing within him. "We need to find someone who can help us translate these symbols," he said, thinking hard about the next steps. They both knew that these symbols were not just mere images. They might hold important information about history or even the location of a long-lost treasure. After resting for a moment to gather their strength, they began planning their next steps. Rina took out her phone and looked at the pictures they had taken. Each symbol seemed to have its own uniqueness, and Rina felt that there was a certain pattern they needed to find. "Maybe we can find out at the nearest library or museum," she suggested. "There, we might find an expert who knows about the culture or history related to these symbols." Budi agreed, and they quickly set off from their resting place. On their way to the city, Rina could not contain her curiosity. She imagined various possibilities about what they might find. Would the symbols lead to an extraordinary discovery? Or perhaps they would uncover something more dangerous than they had anticipated. These thoughts swirled in her mind, but one thing was certain: they would not back down. Upon arriving in the city, they headed straight to the library. Rina felt an overwhelming excitement as they entered the building filled with books and knowledge. They searched for sections related to archaeology and ancient history. After a while of searching, they found an experienced librarian. Rina and Budi explained their discovery and showed the images of the symbols they had taken. The librarian, a middle-aged man with thick glasses, appeared intrigued. "These symbols seem to come from an ancient culture that once existed in this area," he said while examining the images. "I have seen similar symbols in ancient texts. Let's see if we can find more specific references." With the librarian's help, they began to sift through various books and documents. Rina felt increasingly excited as she found relevant information. Each page they read opened new insights into the history and culture that might be related to the symbols. They discovered that the symbols might lead to the location of an untouched archaeological site, which was said to hold treasures and secrets long forgotten. After hours of searching, they finally found a clear clue. "Here it is," Budi exclaimed, pointing to an ancient map showing a location they might be looking for. Rina felt adrenaline coursing through her. "We need to go there as soon as possible," she said, full of enthusiasm. With the map in hand and strong determination, they prepared to continue their adventure, determined to uncover the mystery that had been waiting for centuries. They quickly left the library, their steps filled with excitement and hope. Rina could not contain her curiosity about what they would find at the location indicated on the map. Every second felt precious, and they were both determined not to waste any time. On their way to the indicated location, they shared thoughts and speculations about what they might discover. "Do you think we will find something valuable?" Budi asked, his eyes sparkling with curiosity. Rina nodded. "Maybe. But more importantly, we could find answers to all the questions that have been bothering us." They both agreed that this search was not just about treasure, but also about knowledge and a deeper understanding of the long-forgotten history. After several hours of travel, they finally arrived at the location indicated on the map. The place was surrounded by dense trees and appeared deserted, as if time had stopped there. Rina and Budi exchanged glances, feeling the tension and excitement enveloping them. "This is it, the place we are looking for," Rina whispered, her voice barely audible amidst the silence of nature. They began to explore the area, searching for signs or symbols that might lead to a greater discovery. Rina felt her heart racing as they found several large stones that looked unusual, with carvings resembling the symbols they had previously captured. "Look at this, Budi!" she exclaimed, pointing to one of the stones. "This is similar to the symbols we saw in the cave." Budi approached and observed closely. "We need to document this," he said, pulling out his phone to take a picture. Rina nodded in agreement, feeling increasingly confident that they were on the right track. They continued to explore the area, discovering more symbols and structures that seemed to be part of an ancient civilization that once existed there. As they dug deeper, Rina felt that they were getting closer to the answers they sought. However, behind the excitement, there was also a sense of unease. What would they find next? Were they ready to face whatever might emerge from the darkness of history? With strong determination and unwavering spirit, they continued their search, determined to uncover the mystery that had been waiting for centuries and to find the truth hidden behind the ancient symbols. They continued to explore deeper into the area, each step bringing them closer to the heart of the mystery. Rina felt the tension in the air, as if the place held secrets of great value. Every stone they touched, every carving they observed, seemed to tell the story of a long-lost civilization. "Budi, look at this!" Rina exclaimed, pointing to a structure that appeared larger and more intricate than the others. "This seems to be part of a temple or sacred place." Budi approached and observed carefully. "We need to be cautious. If this is indeed a temple, there may be traps or other things we do not know about," he said, his voice full of caution. Rina nodded, realizing that they needed to stay alert. However, her curiosity was stronger than her fear. They both began to explore the structure, searching for further clues. As they entered the interior of the temple, the atmosphere became even more mysterious. The walls were adorned with carvings depicting various scenes, perhaps about gods or significant events in the history of that civilization. Rina felt mesmerized, as if she were looking back into the past. "This is amazing, Budi." "We are truly in a special place," she said, her voice trembling with awe. However, as they ventured further, Rina felt a strange chill. "Do you feel that?" she asked, turning to Budi. "It seems like something is not right here." Budi nodded, his face showing a serious expression. "We need to stay focused. We must not get caught up in things we do not understand." They continued their search, and suddenly Rina saw something glimmering in the corner of the room. "Budi, look at that!" she exclaimed, pointing to the light reflecting. They both approached, and as they got closer, they realized it was a small box made of metal, adorned with symbols similar to those they had found earlier. "This might be something important," Budi said, his voice trembling with anticipation. Carefully, Rina opened the box. Inside was an ancient scroll that looked fragile. Rina and Budi looked at each other, feeling the rising tension. "This could be the key to understanding all of this," Rina said, her hands trembling as she pulled out the scroll. They both knew that whatever was written inside could change everything. With hope and a bit of fear, they began to unroll it, ready to uncover the truth hidden behind the ancient symbols they had encountered. As the scroll opened, the distinctive aroma of old paper spread through the air, bringing them closer to the past. Rina stared at the writing on it, trying to understand the letters that seemed foreign yet full of meaning. "Budi, look at this. There seem to be some images and symbols here," she said, pointing to a section that depicted a scheme or map resembling the one they had found earlier. Budi approached, his eyes lighting up with curiosity. "This might indicate another important location," he said, trying to digest the information. They both tried to read carefully, and with each sentence they understood, their excitement grew. It turned out that the scroll contained notes about ancient rituals, the gods that were worshipped, and locations considered sacred by the long-lost civilization. However, amidst the exciting discovery, Rina found a warning that made her pause. "Budi, look at this," she said, pointing to a section that read, "Anyone who tries to disturb this sacred place will face unforeseen consequences." Rina felt a chill run down her spine. What does it mean? Have we made a mistake by coming here? Budi sighed, trying to calm Rina. "We know nothing about this place, but we must be careful. We need to respect what has been here for centuries." Rina nodded, realizing that they needed to be more cautious in their next steps. They continued reading, and the deeper they investigated the scroll, the clearer it became that the symbols they had found earlier held deeper meanings. The scroll also mentioned an artifact of great value, which was said to possess extraordinary powers and was hidden within the temple. "We must find that artifact," Rina exclaimed, her spirit reigniting. "This could be an extraordinary discovery." Budi agreed, but he also felt the need to remain vigilant. "We need to find out more about that artifact and how to locate it. We can't be reckless," he said, emphasizing the importance of caution. With renewed enthusiasm, Rina and Budi committed to continuing their search, determined to find the artifact that might be the key to understanding more about the ancient civilization that had long been lost and the mysteries it held. With the ancient scroll in hand and unwavering spirit, they ventured deeper into the temple, ready to face the challenges that might await them and uncover the truth that had long been buried. As they explored further, the atmosphere of the temple grew even more mysterious. The walls were adorned with carvings depicting ancient stories, as if narrating the glory of a past that had long been forgotten. Rina and Budi paused for a moment to observe the carvings, trying to understand their meanings. "Look, Budi," Rina whispered, pointing to one of the paintings that seemed to depict a grand ceremony. "Maybe this is a clue about how this civilization ended." Budi nodded, his eyes sparkling at the intricate details. "We must keep searching," he said, his voice full of determination. They continued their journey, passing through narrow corridors filled with dark shadows. Each step brought them closer to the heart of the temple, where they hoped to find answers to all their questions. Suddenly, Rina felt something hard beneath her feet. She stopped and looked down, realizing she had stepped on something unusual. "Budi, look at this," she said, bending down to pick up the object. As she brushed off the dust covering its surface, she realized it was a gold coin glimmering in the dim light. Budi approached, his eyes widening in surprise. "This is incredible, Rina. This coin might come from the ancient civilization we are searching for," he said in awe. The coin was adorned with symbols similar to those they had found on the walls of the cave and temple, reinforcing their belief that they were on the right track. With the discovery of this gold coin, Rina and Budi felt that they had found an important piece of the puzzle they had been trying to solve. The coin was not just a valuable artifact, but also tangible evidence of the existence of a long-lost civilization. With hearts full of gratitude and spirits burning brighter, they realized that their search had yielded extraordinary results. Finally, with the gold coin in hand and the ancient scroll still to be deciphered, Rina and Budi stepped out of the temple, carrying their valuable discovery. They knew that their journey was not over, but they had taken a significant step toward a deeper understanding of hidden history. With an even stronger determination, they promised to continue digging deeper, uncovering more secrets and sharing their discoveries with the world.